Netanyahu doesn't want that. Netanyahu said that we will not stop. We will go in and we will enter Rafah and we will end this. What does he mean by end this? You know, how many more people have to die? How many more homes have to be destroyed? How many more kids in northern Gaza have to be starved?
It isn't clear, and what it is showing is...
When we're talking about it's not clear, it's very clear what they're doing and what they're trying to do. Every single day in Palestine, in Gaza, since 1917, there have been massacres. Why does nobody ask about them? Why does nobody say, why is Israel doing that? In Israel, they're teaching their kids 1 bullet, 2 bullet, young kids. These are Israelis that are coming out. They're saying that we are programmed from early age in school here to hate Arabs and to not see Arabs as human beings.
You know, people don't want to see this shit. Like, it's a horrible thing.
It is, but it's the reality. And I think something I always say when I'm speaking, especially in the protests, is what Martin Luther King said. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And this is so true.
The Central Club.
What's going on, people? Welcome to the Central Club. This episode is brought to you by Re-Inspire Printing and the City Arms. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the club, and hit the bell button to be notified of future content. This interview that we're about to undertake is one that I've been very hesitant on for quite some time, for many reasons, but all for good, I thought. I thought if we're going to touch on this topic, we need to get, you know, the right people on to start and, you know, maybe be very minimal in my questioning, or if not, just speak from a person of just what the common man thinks. One thing I've been worried about is getting things wrong or getting the wrong people on for this, you know, and it's bigger than me, you know, but the Central Club, we are here to hear both sides of a story and raise awareness on things. And, you know, what I've seen in the news, you can't ignore these type of things. And I think it's only right to cover this topic. And I think we've got the right person to do that today. This man was the award-winning international humanitarian. He's an activist, a campaigner. I warmly welcome Neezo, or Neezo as you call yourself, yeah?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, bro.
Nice one, bro.
Yeah, like, listen, I just wanted to touch that on the intro, like, very hesitant to do this, and I thought for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those topics that people might say it's controversial, or people might not want to get involved or think that they don't need to be involved. But I think these discussions are important. It's good to put a different perspective out there. And maybe even if, you know, it just encourages people to look into what's happening or to look into the situation, you know, whether they change their minds or not, that's not for us to decide, but we're trying to educate.
100%. And that is the reason why I've eventually, you know, decided to do this. You know, we're not short of controversy here on the Central Club. So, you know, that isn't one of the reasons. I think it was just not wanting to cause any more division. Yeah. You know, one thing we're trying to do, and we might fail at it, but it's trying to bring understanding and people together. Yeah. And, you know, we are going to touch on the topic of obviously what's going on in Gaza, which is horrific, I think. I just didn't want to try and add to that, like if that was the case. But we have to get guests on and we have to talk about this. Yeah. How's things anyway?
Good, man. Good. Very busy.
Yes. Do you want to give a little backstory of who you are and where you come from?
All right, so I'm Neezo, or Neezo as most people call me. Born and raised in Swansea. Lived in Swansea all my life. My parents are originally from Libya. I've been involved in humanitarian work for the last 10 years. I've been to places like Somalia, to Mosul in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Ghana, Uganda. I've got some interesting stories that we might go into later on. I've also been campaigning for human rights and an activist for probably the best part of 20 years, speaking out against injustice, speaking out against oppression, wherever it is and whoever the victim is. I've also done a lot of charity work in my hometown in Swansea. So I've done extensive work with food banks, with the local population in need, with the homeless, supporting countless homeless projects, as well as helping local refugees who have just been resettled in Swansea over the years.
Wow, the list is endless there. Congratulations on obviously the amazing work you're doing. Don't have the Swansea accent. That's a good thing, by the way. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
We were talking just before as well that you used to be into your music and stuff. So is this something that, like, you know, you've stepped among, you've obviously achieved so much, but is this something in, you know, 10 years prior to you doing this, you was a totally different person?
100%. And for those watching who know me, they'll confirm that. You know, I wasn't a bad person, but I think I was a bit more selfish and focused on myself, focused on, you know, what I wanted in life. And it didn't really impact on me that much what other people were going through. Not that I didn't care, but my focus was always trying to make me succeed, make me improve. And obviously being in the music scene, you know, there was a few bad things that I got involved in. But, you know, luckily I'm here today. My life's turned around. I'm blessed. And I realize that there's no greater satisfaction than giving back. You know, you said congratulations on the amazing work that I'm doing. I don't see it like that. I see it as I've still got a long way to go before I feel that I've given back enough, you know, to the world, to people, to humanity.
Yeah, you know, you can say when is enough, you know, and when you say give back, it reminds me of me with my journey through recovery and the people I hurt along the way, the people I stole from, my family, my friends, and I am trying to give back in my journey as well. But to give back, you've got to take, and I have to say, I don't. You haven't taken anything, have you?
Not necessarily taken, but I think, as you said, you know, that time that you could have spent with your family, that time you could have spent picking up your friends, encouraging them to do better, you know, not letting them go down the wrong path. All of that to me is taken. You know, if you're not doing something positive, then you're taking away positivity.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to say to you is don't beat yourself up, because what you are doing is amazing. And I can't tell you how to suck eggs. You know, you're going to these places and you're seeing the devastation that's happening. So, you know, on your judgment, you know, you will know when you've done enough, of course. But I just want to give you that pat on the back,
Nice one,
brother.
thank you very much.
So how did this start? You know, like what was that change for you?
I think in 2011, when the Arab Spring and all the revolutions started taking place in Arab countries, obviously my family are from Libya. So pretty much all of my family, my uncles, my aunties, my grandparents, my cousins, they're all in Libya. And when that happened, my family became refugees. They had to leave Libya because of the war, because of the bombing, because of the suffering. Many of them left, went to Tunisia, but some of them stayed and they said, we're not leaving. This is our land, our home. If we die in our home. So I went to Tunisia. I was involved with my cousins and a few friends in supporting some of the families that came and they had nothing, putting them in houses, getting them food, getting them money to pay their rent. And that was kind of the first like active hands-on experience I had in humanitarian work. Obviously, before I've donated to charities and I've given money to charity and stuff like that, but to actively be on the ground, supporting and logistically doing something, that was kind of the first experience that I had.
Yeah, and what age is this? Because you're like 3 years older than me, and I remember the Libyan war. You know, when Gaddafi was overturned.
Yeah.
How old was you when the war have been going on for a bit, and then you've come to help after? Was it or?
Yeah, so 2011, I would have been 24.
Yeah.
24 years old. Yeah, so the war was still ongoing in Libya, but then obviously I went to Tunisia, and you know there were people coming over that had been shot, that had been, you know, limbs blown off. It was very interesting. There was a very, this is probably the first time anyone's going to hear this, but there was a time where it was on the news that the Libyan border had opened. So the border had opened and it wasn't Gaddafi's people in charge. So some of the people that I was doing the aid work with in Tunisia, we thought, okay, let's take aid and let's go in through the border. So we filled up 2 cars. We took like flour, we took petrol, we took some vegetables, and then we drove towards the Libyan border. As we got close to the Libyan border, my friend, he was in a Nissan Navara pickup truck. So he parked up on the side of the road. He went to go and get like some black market fuel. And I was sat in the car, and obviously I had like a Free Libya band on my hand. Sat there with a cigarette in my hand out of the window, and then a blacked out BMW came. Stopped next to us, went and parked in front of the car, and then a guy got out of the car. Big guy. He walked up to me. Like, when I say big, bro, the guy's hands were like bare hands. I still remember he had very green eyes. And he came to the window, looked at me, and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Libya." He said, "Who are you with?" Obviously asking, "Are you with Gaddafi or are you against Gaddafi?" I said, "I'm not with anyone, man. I'm just going to get my grandma some clothes. She's having surgery in Tunisia." I had to make something up because obviously that area on the border, these people are very, very supportive of Gaddafi. And then my cousin called me as he's speaking to me, and I picked up the phone, and my cousin's like, "Yo, where are you? We can't see where your car is." And I said, "Just keep driving. You'll see us on the side of the road." The guy stepped back. He said, "Who are you with? How many people?" So I thought, right, this is dodgy. So I said, "Oh, 8 people, 9 people." So the guy stepped back. He got on his phone. And then my cousin drove past on the main road. He spotted our car, slammed the brakes on, reversed. And he looked at me. He was like, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Bro, just turn around, turn around." And then at that point, a brand new Toyota, they call them Toyota Fox. So they're, the proper 4x4s, the ones that they put all the like guns on and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them during the coverage of Libya.
Yeah, so there was no weapons or anything on it, but this one was brand new, no license plates, blacked out. This car just pulled up. So I'm calling my friend who's getting the fuel. I'm like, "Yo, come." He jumped in the car, and then that car came. So my cousin drove towards Libya, and then my guy got in the car, started spinning out, obviously sand, rocks going everywhere. So this guy got back in his BM, and then we went back the other way. This car followed us. We were probably driving at about 140, 150 miles an hour. We're going, and then there was a checkpoint maybe a kilometer away. As we approached the checkpoint, the BM turned its lights off, slowed down, and just turned around. So we got to the checkpoint. Obviously, the Tunisian army, they had their guns, and they were like, "Why are you driving like this?" So we explained what happened. We said, "Our other car has gone the other way." Later on, we found out that my cousin and his 3 friends in that car, they went. There was another checkpoint just before the Libyan border. Luckily, there was a checkpoint. So they stopped them at the checkpoint. This Toyota came. 2 Libyans got out of the car, went, took them out of the car, put them all on their knees. They had laptop, money, stuff in the car. They took all of that from them. And the guy said to them, "Say Gaddafi is your hero," to my cousin and his friends. So my cousin looked and he was like, "I'm not saying that. The fuck, what are you talking about?" Bro, they beat them, they battered them, they took everything off them in front of the Tunisian police. Tunisian police couldn't do anything, say anything. So they did that, they left, they took all of their stuff, electronics and everything. And then about 3 hours later, the police brought them to the checkpoint that we were in. We found out that what came out in the news saying that Gaddafi's guys don't have the border anymore was propaganda. And I think 15 or 16 people who also thought the same as us, that, okay, it's liberated. They went, they got taken, and they never got seen again. So that for me, that was a very, very scary experience.
Could have been you.
Could have been me. Could have been me. Could have been my cousin. Could have been my friend.
Just to get your take on this, because I remember it very well. The journey of the rebels going from Benghazi, Tripoli, and it was like in live time, that coverage, wasn't it? By the sounds of it, everyone wanted to be against Gaddafi, but then you hear things as well that like Gaddafi wasn't that bad. Like, what was your take on Muammar Gaddafi?
He was a monster. All of the stuff that you see coming out now is all fabricated. Free healthcare, there was no healthcare. I remember that anyone that needed surgery or needed medicine or needed to see a doctor, they'd have to go to Tunisia or Jordan or Italy. Tunisia's economy was pretty much based on Libyans trying to get healthcare. Malta, Jordan, Italy, like there was no healthcare. Mediterranean. There's no healthcare in Libya. If you get married, you get a house and you get a car.
This is what I'm hearing now.
Yeah, I had cousins and uncles that, up until 40, 45 years old couldn't get married because they didn't have the ability to get married. Education was a joke. People, English teachers can't speak a word of English. People going into exams in Libya, in public and private schools, more in public schools, the teacher, they're paying the teacher and the teacher's giving them all of the answers from the answer book. Like Libya was one of the most corrupt countries. Gaddafi had money. There was a lot of money in Libya, but where was that money going? Up until Gaddafi died, I remember when I used to go back to Libya on holiday to visit my family, at I think 11 a.m., 3 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., clockwork. Electricity is going to go out. Candles ready. Candles, everything ready. If you were rich enough to have a generator, then you'd have a generator. But most people didn't have that. There's no water system. You get me? There's no like plumbing or like a water source company. Everyone's got a tank either on top of their building or outside the building, and you had to pay a truck to come and fill up your water. You know, like what he was good at propaganda. He was good at saying or telling people, look what I'm doing. You know, sadly, a lot of the money that we had or Libya had was going into Africa. And this is why a lot of the mercenaries that were coming to support him were from countries that he supported, you know, over the years. One of the biggest mosques in Africa, Gaddafi built it, not in Libya. One of the biggest hospitals, not in Libya. He built it. One of the biggest schools, he built it. Sports stadiums, none of it in Libya. You know?
It seems to not make sense, though, you know. Why don't you build your own country for your own people to support you? Why you, yeah.
Yeah.
But I always, you know, it was that, like, you know, like the West took him out because he was trying to unite Africa, African currency and all this stuff. But hearing it from your perspective, a Libyan yourself.
There's speculation of that, yeah. And I mean, you know, he talked the talk when it came to stuff like that. But the African leaders in Africa used to laugh at him. Like the guy called himself the King of Kings of Africa. And there's videos of when he's speaking and he's giving himself that title, African leaders are laughing. You know, he was a joke. He was a madman. He was on drugs. He was, you know, the guy was not stable at all. Whether he could unite Africa and actually be a threat to the dollar, it's debatable. But, you know, I think there was bigger plans to get rid of him. Obviously, it was regime change. You know, it was the West that initiated this whole Arab Spring. And it's all tactical to remove certain leaders and put other leaders in their place. And we've seen this happening in Egypt. We've seen this in Tunisia. We've seen it attempted in Syria. We've seen it in Libya. You know, we saw it in Yemen. It's, I think there's a bigger picture involved.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
We'll get to that because I want to chuck my 2 pence in on this as well. So that was a starting point, yeah, Libya. And from then you went to other countries?
No, so that I just did kind of with the family. That was in 2011. I was living in Dubai at the time. I came back to the UK. I did my master's. And then I set up a record label. So I started a record label called Flame Grilled Records with a guy who's he's passed away sadly a few years ago. His name was Zilla, Big Zilla, one of the best producers I've ever worked with. And another friend called Josh, Jilted Jar. So we set up a record label. We were doing nights. We had like an album launch planned and everything. And then that didn't go to plan. So I was looking for a job, started working in a call center. And as I was working in a call center, one of my friends was getting married. So we went for a stag do to Budapest. I went to Budapest. This was in 2015, summer. And we're walking around Budapest and we walk past the train station and I just see hundreds of people with bags and kids, like Arabs, Syrians, hundreds. Every day I was going out and we were just seeing them. They were passing through, walking through, going to the train station. And this was just before September. And obviously the picture of that boy, Aylan Kurdi, who washed up on the shore, that was the 4th of September. So I got back the 3rd of September to Swansea and then that happened. And I thought, right, what can we do? I want to help. I want to do something. So I looked on Facebook. I looked on the groups. There was a lady called Renee in Swansea who had something going in the YMCA. So I messaged her, got involved with that. And then we started collecting aid. We started collecting clothes, anything that we could, to send it to the refugee camps. And then an opportunity came for me to go to Greece to help unload one of the containers that we'd filled aid for. This is in October 2015. So, and I just started a marketing company before that as well with one of my friends. So I flew out, had a ticket booked for 7 days. That was in October. I came back to the UK June the 6th, 2016. So I stayed out there for seven and a half months. I set up a kitchen. I was cooking me with a team, but I was cooking 1,500 meals a day. Working with a lady called Eukasti, her and 4 other Greek ladies on the island of Samos. They were just cooking in their houses, literally just cooking whatever
What's the
they
island
could.
called?
Samos. It's like 8 miles from Turkey.
Okay,
And then
yeah,
we were-
on the other side.
Yeah. So
My family are from Andros, which is an island near Athens. But
yeah,
just
Athens
wanted to
and
know
this
where
was
they
a
were.
bit far. This was like by boat. It was
Towards more Turkey.
7 hours by boat, 45-minute flight. So we were bringing in kids off the boats. We were bringing in people off the boats, people, children, soaking wet. You know, I had to bury a lady there who her body was, because it was so decomposed, and she was 8 months pregnant. And her body was so decomposed that when they were preparing the body for the burial, her body was falling apart.
Sorry, where did she die then?
She died in the sea. She died on trying to come over from Turkey to Greece.
And what, she just washed up on the shore?
She washed up on the shore. And then they didn't know who she was. They couldn't identify her, so they just put her in the hospital fridge. And 3 months later, her father was asking and finding out, and he managed to trace that she'd gone to that island. So people got in contact with me because I was there for a long time. And we did some digging, we did some looking, we found the body. And the body was just there, no burial, no nothing. And when we buried her, funnily enough, which is a bit crazy, they didn't want any Muslims buried on the island. There's no mosques on the island. They're not allowed.
Who didn't want this? The
The
Greeks
locals,
or the...
yeah, the Greeks. No, the Greeks. There was not allowed to be any kind of like official Muslim burial place. So when we fought to get the body released and to be able to bury her, I went to one of their cemeteries, like a local Greek one, and then there was a forest on the side of it. And when I got to the forest, I saw probably about 30 or 40 graves, numbers, no names, no nothing, numbers and ages, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 37-year-old, 50-year-old. But obviously, because we made a bit of a fuss for this lady, they gave us a burial spot inside the actual cemetery. This was the only one that actually had a proper grave. You know, and it was just crazy. It was crazy. Like I was gonna come back after 7 days.
How big is this island?
Very small, Samos. I don't know exactly, but there's like only I think 3 or 4 main areas.
Do you know? Do anyone know like the not survival rate, but like how many were coming over and like what was the chances of survival?
Thousands were coming over in the summer, like because I went in October. So between October and January, very bad weather, very rough seas, and people were just coming. Their boats overturning. Maybe body wise, there was quite a lot of bodies, but a lot of the bodies were getting sent back to Turkey. But when it became kind of March, April, clear sky, blue sky, nice weather, the boats were coming. Boats were coming, landing safely. Boats like dinghies, little rubber dinghies. No captain, no smugglers, no nothing. Literally, people were just getting dinghies and coming over. And then they put them in a camp. And this camp was like in the middle of, on a hill in a forest. They had nothing. So we were helping, we were cooking, we were providing baby milk, we were providing nappies, we were providing food, all of these things. And me, I'm a very vocal person. So I made a video calling out the UN because I saw that the UN staff were there. There was loads of them. They come to the camp for like half an hour. They got their clipboards. They're there with their clipboards and then they'd leave. And when I'm speaking to the people, they're like, these guys aren't doing anything. They're
just recording numbers.
They're just coming, recording numbers and stuff and going. So I made a video. And then a colleague, the guy I work with now in the charity sector, Wazio, he messaged me because he was doing work in Calais. And he said, bro, I see potential in you. You don't want to be calling out the UN because one day you might be working with them. I thought, what the hell's this guy talking about? And then a few months later, he invited me and he said, look, we're doing a deployment. We're going to Jordan to work with the Syrian refugees and the Palestinian refugees there. Raise some money and come out with us. So I left my kitchen, I left my team that were working in Greece, and I flew out to Jordan. Went out, and I didn't trust charities at this point, but I went out. The CEO of the charity was there. He was picking up food boxes. He was comforting the families. He was speaking to the people. You know, you could see his heart was in it, not like the bigger organizations.
Yeah,
And then they offered me a job. Never looked back since.
A job with, what was the charity?
That charity at the
I think
time.
you meant the UN then. Sorry.
No. That charity was called Human Relief Foundation.
Okay.
So I worked with them from 2016 until end of 2020.
Wow.
And then I left them.
And you was given like a job, a paid job doing this.
Yeah, doing this.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you found your true calling.
Found my
something
calling.
you believed in,
Yeah.
something you wanted to do and help.
Yeah.
You know, and now you could, you know, not financially gain, but you can survive and
I
you
could
can
survive.
afford doing it.
Like, bro, when I was doing it in Greece, I was there for 7 and a bit months.
Wow.
I was literally living off, you know, like the chocolate croissants that were given out. I was living off that. I lost 7 kilos. I became like a skeleton. I had, what's it called? You know, when you get like fungus on your feet, because I was just constantly not sleeping. I
Athlete's
was
foot.
out. But all over my feet were just, because I was wearing boots and it was wet and it was raining. My feet just started, you know, disintegrating. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't sleeping properly.
What was that like then? Like, you know, if you haven't grew up in a war torn area, you grew up in Swansea. So what was that like, witnessing dead bodies and stuff? The first time you did, like, what was that like?
I don't know. I'm not.
It didn't bother you?
No.
Because a lot of people, you know, and in this day and age, a lot of people are desensitized just through, you know, what's going on in the world and how we feed information back through our mobile phones. But surely, like, you know, must have affected you in some sort of way.
Yeah, it affected me in the sense that I was very sad, and I was devastated that, you know, these people should be alive, but they're not alive. But it motivated me. Right, there's nothing we can do for them. They're dead. But there's thousands of other people that if we intervene, if we do something, they can live. They can carry on living. You know, I'm always very like pragmatic and positive. I'm not one of them negative thinkers. I always look at what's the solution, you know, and I always try and find the solution and make the best of any situation. And that's why I'm good at my job. You know, I was in Bangladesh with the Rohingya refugees. I spent 7 months there.
Is they the ones who were on the border with
Burma?
Yeah. It's terrible, isn't
Very
it?
bad. And I was there, bro, and there was an exodus of over 20,000 people crossed the border. And I got a call from a guy. I just set up a kitchen there as well. And I got a call from a guy and he said, look, we need to go to this place. There's loads of people. I'll send you the videos for it. So I turned up there, me and 2 other guys, one from a charity in Bangladesh and one person from the UK with me. And we turned up there, bro. There was not a single person, not a single charity, not a single helper, just a few Bangladeshi soldiers. The people were just coming. There was a woman who had a baby with the umbilical cord still. She gave birth in the forest and she's there walking. Everyone else, their feet were completely blistered, the skin ripped. People have been walking for miles through the forest, getting shot at. A guy came in, I remember him, Idris, 9 years old. He had a hole in his head. He got shot. Luckily, it didn't affect him. It just pretty much dented his whole skull. You know, like, some of the stuff I've seen, bro, is crazy, but it motivates me to just help, you know, to just either spread awareness or either help them in their situations.
And I think in this day and age now, and the world we're living in, and social media, and, you know, for and against, again, propaganda, I think a lot of people with, you know, question on what's the purpose of you doing this? Why are you doing this? It's all about people's conspiracies and opinions and theories, whatever. So it was with you, just, I want to help people.
I want to help, yeah. I'm vocal. I've got a big mouth. I don't shut up, and and I don't back down, and I'm not afraid. You know, so all of those qualities that I've got make me a good person to be able to do this kind of work, because I've seen that it can make a difference. And the satisfaction you get from seeing that you've impacted someone's life, you've changed someone's life, you've saved someone's life. You can't get that from any payment, any salary, any title, nothing. Do you get me? And it becomes addictive. You know, it's like you want to keep helping. You want to keep, you know, that mother that's come to you and said, thank you, you've helped my child. My child was starving. They didn't have anything. Thanks to you. You know, my child is has prospects, has a future. And I always say, I'm just the middleman. It's not me that's doing this. The people that are donating to the work that we're
You're
doing,
the vehicle.
I'm just the vehicle. I've got a skill and a talent that I can use, but it's the people that are generously donating and giving. Some people used to say to me, "Why are you showing your charity work?" And especially like in the Muslim community, there's a saying that if you give with your right hand, you should put your left hand behind your back, in the sense that you shouldn't show off the charity work that you're doing.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I say to people, I'm not showing my charity work. I'm
showing
showing your
what- yeah,
charity
yeah.
work. Like
Yeah,
this
I
isn't,
agree.
this isn't what I've done.
We done a Christmas special our first year, and we were gonna do on one of the segments was a homeless feed we done, and we wanted to record the homeless feed, but instead of filming us giving food to the homeless people, which we didn't want to do because we knew people with chips, we filmed the people donating. So we were filming this going to the doors and people giving the bags.
Amazing.
Because we wanted to celebrate the good people,
Exactly.
the kind-hearted people who have donated, And there's the argument on that as well of, look, I'd rather promote myself doing something good than something bad. You could argue that as well, because if people say this about yourself, you said at the beginning, like, you don't get a better feeling than helping or giving, it's in a way, it is selfish. You're feeding your, I'm doing a good thing and it's a good feeling to do that. People would call that selfish in a way. So this I don't, I can't preach from a perspective of religion because I'm not a religious person, but I understand where people were coming from when they would say that as well,
Yeah. Now, for me, like, in a way, it is selfish, but there's a difference in someone who's selfish, which negatively affects other people, or if someone's selfish and it's bringing good. Like,
Exactly.
because good, the feeling that I get intrinsically is linked with the good that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Do you get me? Whereas selfish in a different context would be, I don't care what happens to you as long as I get what I want.
Yes.
That's a bad form of selfishness. But the selfishness, if it is selfishness that I have, I think is a positive thing.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I enjoy seeing that I can make a difference and help people, whether it's through educational projects, vocational training projects, whether it's through building somebody a house that they've lost everything. If I can be a part of that, then I'm a part of, the mercy.
Of course. And at the end of the day, you're risking your life doing it.
We came under ISIS drone attack when we were in Iraq, in Mosul,
Wow.
2017. So obviously we were there whilst the liberation of Western Mosul was still ongoing. So we're there, bro, and you can see the American bombers flying over our head, American tanks, French tanks in Iraq, Mosul. And we're there, like, moving towards the front line with basic things like food, water, blankets, clothing for the people that were just being released from ISIS captivity. And then there's obviously there's the Tigris River, which separates Eastern Mosul and Western Mosul.
Yeah.
So Eastern Mosul was where kind of the Iraqi government and the American forces and Western forces had majority control. Literally, the other side of the river was ISIS. So we were driving on one of the main roads, and there's a mosque there called the Prophet Jonah Mosque, and there was a checkpoint outside. So we're there in two cars. There's 6 of us, and there's a checkpoint. So the checkpoint stop us. They ask for our passports, documents, everything, and they say, "Can you get out of the car?" So we get out of the car, and then one of our guys was like, "Oh, amazing! This is a beautiful mosque, really, really big mosque, one of the biggest mosques in Iraq, but it was destroyed. It was like bombed to shit." So we went and he was taking a few pictures, and then one of the soldiers came and grabbed him and said, "Are you crazy? They're gonna shoot you." We're like, "Who's gonna shoot us?" Like, ISIS are literally across that river there, and they've got snipers. You need to stay behind this building. So we thought, is he exaggerating? Is he not? And then 2 seconds later, bro, a guy comes on a moped in Arabic. He starts shouting, "Drone, drone." And we had a couple of people, like British people with us that don't speak Arabic. So I was like, "Yo, he's saying drone." And then the Iraqi guys who were like questioning us and asking what we're doing, they all started pointing their guns to the sky. And then about 3 minutes later, we could hear the zzz, but it was quite cloudy. So these guys start shooting up. We start hearing bullets coming past the building from the other side of the river, shooting. So they obviously knew with the drone, because it's got a camera, they knew our position, they knew the soldiers' position. And then these guys are shooting up in the sky. And then about 2 minutes later, we just hear boom. It was about 800 meters away from us. So they managed to shoot it down and it exploded 800 meters away. If they didn't shoot it down, these things have got cameras. So they were coming to whatever congregation it is, whether it's us, whether it's soldiers, and they shut it down. They looked at us, they said, get in the car and just do one. So we jumped in the car straight away and drove like our guy. And bro, there's craters in the floor, like 2 meters. So a normal road like the M4 with craters inside. And as we're driving away and going speeding, I look and I see an Iraqi woman in her house, which has got half of the wall blown off. She's standing in the street, putting her washing on the line, and her kids playing in a toy car. And you know, one of them moments where you're looking out and everything slows down? I was just looking and thinking, that's mad. We get to leave. We have the choice to leave. They can't go anywhere. Where are they going to go? They're just waiting for it to happen to them. Another time in Iraq, we were doing a distribution and we got mobbed because people were so hungry. People hadn't eaten for days that people started trying to climb on the truck. We had one Iraqi security personnel with us. He got on the truck. He's pushing people down. He shot shot into the air, and then we drove off. And then when we're driving, we're obviously driving through parts of Mosul. One of the local drivers, he was like, "You need to get down." So me and my friend, the other aid worker, him more than me, because he's got a big beard and long hair, and they were like, "You need to get down." But they don't like foreign aid workers. It's a target. They can kidnap. They can hold for ransom. So where they're lying on the floor in the back of a truck with boxes of food, driving away. And then luckily we got to another checkpoint, and the guy was like, "Right, you need to go now. We'll carry on the food distribution."
Wow.
So it's for anyone who thinks it's selfish that like, oh, we're enjoying it. It's not like, do you get me? It's not a fun day out, but it's worth the risk. For me,
Yeah,
I
I
see
can
it as worth
imagine
the
the
risk. Someone's
sense
got to
of-
do it.
Yeah, I can imagine, when you've come back from a deployment, in one piece, and, knowing you fed families, thousands of people, might have helped them get to a safe place. Must be a beautiful feeling,
It is, but there's always worry. Like now, I just read before we started this interview, today there was bombing in southern Lebanon. Today, 3 civilians killed. So Israel bombed Lebanon. I'm going there on Friday. We've got a medical facility. We've got a clinic literally on the border of Israel. And I'm going to be going there on Friday.
Okay. Well, I think it's probably time to really talk about the elephant in the room, isn't it, really, and what's going on. I have heard, I saw a post the other day about ceasefire talks again. Is that another myth, do you think, or?
I think that it's a difficult one, because a ceasefire is needed, but a permanent ceasefire is needed.
Yeah, I don't like the talk of ceasefire means whenever there's no end in sight, really, is
No.
it? It's halt.
And yeah, and that what Israel have proposed now, and what they're negotiating on now, even though 2 days ago the negotiations fell through, but they're going to have another round of talks, is a 45-day pause. That's it. Just for the month of Ramadan, which is coming up on Monday. So it's going to be a pause, potential pause. 45 hostages will be released from Gaza, and Palestinian hostages will also be released over these 45 days. But then they want to go back to the bombing, and to continue the bombing, which to me, that's
What's that, 45 a day for each hostage or something?
a day.
is it?
Yeah, 1 hostage a day.
That's sick, that
Each.
is.
But then they want to go back to bombing. Do you get me? It's there's been simple deals that have been put from the Palestinian side a while back that were rejected. We'll release everyone. You release a large number of the 10,000 hostages, Palestinian hostages that are held in Israel, and a permanent ceasefire. Negotiations. And Netanyahu doesn't want that. Netanyahu said that we will not stop. We will go in and we will enter Rafah and we will end this. What does he mean by end this? How many more people have to die? How many more homes have to be destroyed? How many more hospitals have to be taken out of service? How many more UN schools, shelters have to be blown up? How many more kids in northern Gaza have to be starved? You know, I don't know if you saw 2 days ago, the 3 days ago, the flour massacre.
I saw they had dropped deployments on the beach, and they said that it was a stampede. But
Yeah, no, that wasn't the one on the beach. They
Sorry.
did drop on the beach as well. But the one where they killed people was in northern Gaza. So they dropped at 4 o'clock in the morning. They allowed trucks in. So trucks came in with flour. And there was tanks all around and a helicopter.
and who are the people letting these in? Just UN, is it, or what are the trucks coming in? Who are bringing the flour in?
No, so this is all like some of the work that we do as well,
Yes,
as we
yes.
fill up trucks in Egypt and send them in. So we've sent successfully 5 trucks of aid going in. So hygiene kits, women's sanitary packs, blankets, winter clothing, food packs. So up until recently, it was very slow, but this aid was kind of trickling in. But northern Gaza, where there's about 350,000 to 400,000 Palestinians still there, nothing's gone in there for 2 months. This is where children are eating animal feed to survive. This is where 2 days ago, a young baby who was waiting for milk, somebody managed to smuggle milk, but by the time the milk got to that baby, the baby's dead. Young baby, I'm talking like 6 months old, 7 months old. So many people are dying from starvation. This isn't a famine, this is forced starvation. Israel are not letting aid in. So the other day, because of the pressure, they allowed, I think, 4 trucks. But bearing in mind that Gaza, before this whole situation, minimum of 500 trucks a day were needed, and that still wasn't fully enough. That was still leaving people kind of on the poverty line. Now you're talking 30 to 60 trucks a day. Yet now, some days, nothing gets in. There's a lot of Israelis that are going to the border where aid's coming in, and they've set up checkpoints, and they've set up discos, and they're blasting speakers, they're taking their kids, they're doing picnics, and they're saying no aid's going into Gaza. So it's not a natural disaster why people are going hungry. It's a forced starvation. So when these 4 trucks did go in, you can imagine people haven't had food for so long. Everyone's climbing, going near the trucks. And footage was released, and the BBC later corroborated that this footage that Israel released was edited from their helicopter segments, and they were shooting. And the tanks, they were shelling people. Over 200 people were killed. Over 1,100 people were injured. People went to get flour. So the children are dying from hunger and starvation, and their families are dying trying to get them food. You know, this is like, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, but what about Hamas, or what about this? But let's just take a step back from that a second. We need to understand the severity. Innocent people are dying, and there's nothing that justifies killing that many innocent people, shooting them dead, snipering them, bombing their buildings, bombing their refugee camps. You know, what's happening now, many people, including the International Court of Justice, are saying this is a plausible genocide. You know, this isn't something that can be denied. It's very sad. It's really sad that this is still happening. It's been 152 days now. And it doesn't seem like it's going to stop.
Yeah, you know, I think from my perspective of what happened, was it October the 7th?
Yeah.
You know, if what happened there, if they went in and just tried to, like some sort of swift move to get their hostages back or something, then fair enough. I get that. But it doesn't seem, there's no clear motive with what they're doing. There's no, it isn't clear. And what it is showing is a sinister picture, really. You know, and I hear talks that, you know, Netanyahu, he was on the verge of, you know, being kicked out of office anyway. There was protests by large populations of Israel who wanted him out. And you know, there's loads of things you hear in the background, isn't there? And I think it's very, very hard. But all I know is nobody deserves to die. No one innocent deserves to die.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening right now.
It is. And I mean, look, you know, when we're talking about it's not clear, it's very clear what they're doing and what they're trying to do, because multiple politicians...
They haven't made it clear, is what I'm saying.
No,
they haven't made it
Israel
clear.
have made it very clear. We've got statements. This is why the ICJ court case now is actually gone towards investigation, because there is genocidal intent from the Prime Minister, from the President, from the culture minister. They've come out and said that the children in Gaza are guilty as Hamas. These are politicians. They've come out and said that we want to move all of these people from Gaza and we need to build more settlements. These are official statements. One guy came out in the beginning, Gallant, the military guy, and he said, no food, no water, no electricity. We're turning everything off in Gaza. These are all intentional statements that are made to collectively punish a whole population for the acts of a small number. They say that the number might be 30,000. It's 2.3 million people in Gaza. Why are 2.3 million people or 2.27 million people being starved, being bombed? It doesn't make sense. Like, Israel's got one of the most advanced militaries in the world, number 4. It's one of the largest, it's one of the most sophisticated technological armies in the whole world. Over the last couple of months, they've also bombed Egypt, Israel, the victim. They've bombed Egypt, they've bombed Lebanon, and they've bombed Syria. Let's look at the Lebanon bombing and the Syria bombing. They bombed the capital of Lebanon, Beirut, They got intelligence that there was a senior figure of Hamas in a building, in a meeting. They used the Hellfire missile. This Hellfire missile, in a building with 4 floors, targeted the specific floor that the meeting was on, and nothing else in that building was damaged. 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, they did the same in Syria. They used these specific, laser-guided technological bombs.
Why can't they use them?
They can, but they don't want to, because their whole thing... Look, Netanyahu was in the UN, I think, around July, and he was talking in the UN, and he pulled out a map, and he was saying that Israel...
Pipeline thing.
No, the pipeline, the Ben Gurion Canal that's another thing, and with the gas. But he pulled out a map saying that this is the new Israel. Nothing. There's no such thing as Palestine. There's no Gaza. There's no West Bank. Parts of Egypt and parts of Jordan. He's absorbed them all in. Now, this is something that's called the Greater Israel Plan. And people who are watching, you should look at the Greater Israel Plan. This is something that for the best part of 100 years has been in the pipeline. They want to take pretty much the majority of that region. They don't want Palestinians to be there. They don't want Arabs to be there. It's supremacy. I understand that after the Holocaust, it was very tragic what happened in the Holocaust. But how can you carry out the same tactics that the Nazis used against your people, against other people, to do the same thing?
Yeah, and when I've seen debates on, thanks to P.S. Morgan, who are the ones who were debating? The one was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
It was someone else. And there's another guy, a rabbi.
Shmuley.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rabbi Shmuley. He's a comedian, I think, isn't he? And like, they as soon as you try and put them both aside, what's going on in Gaza and the Holocaust, they really get offended and say they are two totally different things. How can you stick these two in a line then? That's what they say.
Of course, but I mean, I was reading an article, when was it, yesterday, and I watched a video. And this video was talking about the resistance, or the Jewish resistance against Nazi Germany. And it's funny because the way that this academic person was talking in the video, it's the same as what happened in Ukraine. They were saying that the resistance is so powerful and it's human nature, and any oppressed people, they have the right to use violence and they have the right to stand up. And then it talks specifically about what was happening in Poland. So Nazi Germany invaded Poland in 1939. Poland has around 3.5 million Jews living there. When Germany went in, they started pushing people. That's why it's called concentration camps, because they were concentrating the Jewish populations into specific areas. And then from those areas, they were moving them into the camps. And then from there, they were taking them to the extermination camps. So I don't know if you've heard of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising.
Yeah. You had Krakow, you had Warsaw.
Yeah. So Warsaw was one of the biggest concentrations or biggest ghettos where the Jews were put. Now, what they were doing is periodically they were coming and they were taking the Jews out and taking them to the extermination camps. Yeah. So there was about 360,000 roughly in the Warsaw Ghetto. They took a total of around 300,000 to the extermination camps and killed them. So what the remaining Jews that were living in the concentration camps did is they started the resistance movement. It was very hidden, it was very underground, but they started plotting, they started planning for armed resistance.
Well, there's a film, isn't there, with not Jude Law, Daniel Craig and the other one, and they're the Jewish who live in the woods, but I think they were Polish Jews.
Yeah.
And they moved to the woods and they were the resistance.
That's what I mean. But it's, this resistance movement was using violence as a form of resistance. And nobody seemed to have a problem with it. And this is for me where I think there's some kind of levels of double standards, if you like, because, for me personally, violence should not be an answer. It should not be part of any solution. But I'm not oppressed. I'm not occupied. I'm not being starved. My family aren't being killed. Like, I could ask you now, if someone came to your family house and threatened your family and kicked them out of the house, you wouldn't sit down and let them.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't, 100%. By any means necessary, I would fight back. And that's what the Jews did during the Holocaust. And that's that's what's happening in Palestine. Is everything that the resistance does acceptable? No, not at all. Anything bad or anything that targets civilians or anything that targets innocent people, no matter who does it, has to be condemned. Whether you're coming from morality or whether you're coming from a religious perspective, attacking innocent people that have nothing to do with the conflict, nothing to do with it, is not acceptable at all. However, resisting the troops, the people that are torturing you, the people that are occupying you, the people that are shooting at you, the people that are starving you, is exactly what the Jewish resistance did. It's exactly what Nelson Mandela and the ANC did. It's exactly what the suffragettes who couldn't have a woman's vote in the UK did. It's exactly what the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam and the civil rights movement did. You can only negotiate for so long. Hamas was only created in 1986 and officially formed in 1987. Palestinians have been resisting since 1948. They've tried peace talks. They've tried negotiation whilst being pushed out,
So are you saying that Hamas, it was a necessary movement from all the negotiations from the early 40s? It was only a matter of time that something like Hamas would be created?
Yeah, I'm not justifying or defending it, but I'm saying that looking from the outside and looking at history and looking at all of the resistance movements that we've ever had, it's inevitably going to happen. When a people are forced into a cage or locked into a prison and they're either way, they're dead. Do you understand? Like, these people are dying either way. They're dying slowly. You can understand why they would resist and they would use force. I mean, Norman Finkelstein, his parents were Holocaust survivors. He was talking about his parents and what they went through, and his mum being there during the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. You understand? And he was saying that, do you expect that the Jews in the concentration camps would have any love or see any of the Germans as nice people, the people who've put them through that? Again, I'm not justifying, I'm talking about historical context. It's understandable that when people are oppressed, that they will fight back. And that should indicate that there's something wrong here. If these people are willing to, to use acts of violence, sacrifice not just themselves, but the wider population living in that area, because they knew that there would be a retaliation. How desperate must they be? 75 years.
To know, yeah.
75 years. This is not.
It continues the cycle, though, doesn't it? Like, it breeds more hate for the next generation. So the young Palestinians, like you said.
Well, I think that's what they were saying. Every child is guilty. It's disgusting to say that. But in a way, I can see their logic of it's not acceptable to do what they're doing, and to think that's normal or okay, it is inhumane. But the logic they're saying is that we're just breeding more hate now, and they're in it. That's what he's trying to say.
It is, but I mean, look again. What people I've noticed now in the last 5 months, the first question, like it's as if from the Holocaust until now, nothing's happened other than the Holocaust and now the 7th of October. But every single day in Palestine, in Gaza, since 1917, there have been massacres. There was the Deir Yassin massacre in 1944, where over 200 people were killed. There was the Tantura massacre in 1948, I believe, around then. There's been, I think, a total from 1944 until 2020, there's been so many massacres against the Palestinians. Why does nobody ask about them? Why does nobody say, why is Israel doing that? Do you understand? Like, me looking from the outside, I'm looking, okay, I want it to be fair. I want the same logic that's applied to what Hamas did on October the 7th to be applied to what Israel's been doing. If people can equate them both together, then we can get somewhere, you know, as in, well, that's violence, that's violence. But if people are only looking at the 7th of October as something so bad and so wrong, but they're ignoring everything that the Palestinians have been facing. I mean, Gaza is under
ludicrous.
siege. In the West Bank, just in 2023, up until before October the 7th, there's over 250 Palestinians have been killed. Over 5,600 have been arrested. And after October the 7th, that number's now gone up to 11,000 Palestinians. Many of them 13, 14-year-old boys and girls with no charge, held in military prisons.
How would you describe Gaza then?
Gaza's an open-air prison.
So it is like it is like the Warsaw ghettos.
It is 100%.
On a bigger scale.
Like what the lady was saying in this video that I watched, she was describing exactly what Gaza is going through now. Forced starvation, disease being rife. Nobody can go in or out without permission. They are limited on the rations that are coming in. I mean, imagine Israel from 2005 when they left Gaza, when they left as in occupying it from inside and they just control the borders. The amount of food that comes in, Israel decides how many calories per person gets in. And I'm not saying all of this information that I'm saying is fact. This is from the UN. This is from Amnesty International. This is from the Red Cross, the Red Crescent. This is from Beit Salam, an Israeli human rights organization. Like some of the most horrific information that we know about what's happening to the Palestinians comes from Israeli human rights activists, people in Israel who are against what's going on.
If I give you a percentage, you say like you're on a pie chart now, yeah? What percentage of people who are Israeli or Jewish do you think are against what's happening?
I think there's a big number. I mean, you talked earlier about protests. What the Western media is not showing is up until now, every single day, the Israelis are protesting against Netanyahu, against this war, saying, why did you not accept the hostage deal? Why are you continuing? Why did you kill 3 hostages? Why are you not negotiating? We want our families back. And if you saw the hostages, some of them that were released, were shaking hands, were hugging, were kissing their captors. Would you have to think with an open mind. Why would they do that? They didn't look forced or coerced. They were actually genuinely saying bye. Mwah, mwah, mwah. You know, what we're being told and what's actually happening, I think of 2 different things. And there's a lot of people in Israel that are not happy. There's a lot of Orthodox Jews that are protesting in Israel every single day.
This is, sorry to cut you off, but this is like almost, I want this to be true. Like, I think that, you know, it's we say the Zionists or whatever, the people at the top are wanting this to happen. But the common man, the common Jew, the common Israeli could live in harmony and peace with these people. That's what I wish. That's what I'm hoping is the truth. Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping.
Again, as to why they would hate Palestinians.
But that's what happened before 1948. Like, you have to understand, before the creation of the state of Israel, Jews, Christians, Muslims, secular, atheists were living in that area, which was called the Mandate of Palestine. We're living under the Ottoman Empire. Like, the Jews didn't leave. The ones that are from that area, they've been there. They used to look after each other's children. They used to babysit each other's children. They did live in harmony. This isn't about Jews. This isn't about religion. This is about Zionism.
Well, this is my 2 pence maybe, yeah, right? Which I think I think maybe they are using religion
100%.
as a weapon. You know, I don't know if this is controversial or not. Have you ever heard of Albert Pike and the Freemason and the letter to Giuseppe Mazzini of the three war?
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
like, and
I've heard
stuff?
of it briefly a few years ago. One of my friends was telling me about it.
It's basically the plan. So basically, they are this letter. They say is not true. There's no such thing as it. But it was meant to be hidden in the museum in London in the 70s. And this theory's been going around. Remember, this theory's been going around since the early 1900s, since it was invented in the 1800s. Yeah, and there's three plans of war. You know, to create the final,
Order.
one world order. Yeah, the new world order, whatever you want to call it. And every single one of those wars are used with religion. They use religion. You know, and I think that's the thing that, like, of course, as human nature, we get emotional, we are tribal, and we will probably fight against each other just as human nature. But we need to like come together as a people
100%.
and understand that we're being played.
We are. Yeah, 100%.
We're being played by the people at the top who are probably, friends anyway.
Exactly.
How has Israel become so technically advanced and
Well,
strong?
Joe Biden said we need an Israel, didn't he? He said that years ago. We need Israel. And if we don't have Israel, we'll create it.
Yeah, if Israel didn't exist, we would have to create an Israel.
There's a video of him saying that. There's a public
And he
video.
reiterated it now in October as well.
Why is that? And why does it seem, from the outside looking at that, the other countries around in that area seem to be war-torn and have lots of issues?
Western intervention. I mean, you look at some of the countries where, say, go back to Libya, for example. Who put Gaddafi in power? Yeah. There was a king in Libya, the King Idris. Yeah. From when Libya gained independence until 1969, when there was a military coup. At that time, there was English and Italian bases in Libya. So this young general, Gaddafi, with no experience in anything, he came, ousted the king in a bloodless coup, no war, and threatened the foreign invaders in Libya to leave, and they left. It doesn't make sense. Who put the Saudi royal family in power? It was the Balfour Declaration. That area used to be called Arabia. Al Saud is a tribe. So that's why that part was given to the Al Saud family called Saudi. And then Jordan and the other areas, it was the Hashemites. They went up into that area. This was one of the...
But not everyone in Saudi Arabia is Saudi then. Is that would you say that? If it was a tribe and they named it Saudi Arabia,
they were just
we call people
Arabs.
Saudi.
They were just Arabs. So that area before used to be just called the Arabian Desert, the Arabian Peninsula. It was Arabia.
This is just because you're Libyan. I've heard a conversation of this before, but a video, like the Arabs and North Africans are different.
Yeah. So I'm not an Arab.
You're North African.
I'm a Berber. North African, yeah. So we call ourselves the Amazigh, which the literal translation means the free men. So we have our own language, our own alphabet.
It fascinates
our
me, the
own
North
culture.
African
Yeah, we're not
culture. It
Arabs.
fascinates me so much.
Yeah, we speak Arabic.
Yeah.
Just because we were forced to speak Arabic. We weren't allowed to
Same
speak
way
our
the Welsh
language.
speak English.
Exactly. Yeah, but we're not, but we've been occupied by the Greeks, by the Byzantines, by the Romans, by when the Arabs came, and we're still there. We're still speaking our language. We still kept our culture, our heritage, our food, our clothing through resistance. Again, it comes down to this word, human nature. Resistance is human nature. And the only way that you can survive sometimes is through resistance. And there's many forms of resistance. There's not just fighting and violence. Like the doctors in Al Shifa Hospital, who when there was no electricity and there was no water and there was no lights, they were still operating on people without anesthetic. That's resistance. They could have easily left and said, I'm not going to risk my life to save these people. They stayed. The families whose homes have been destroyed and it's literally rubble and they're there sleeping on top of the rubble. That's resistance. The child in Gaza who comes out and he's smiling and he's saying everything's going to be okay. That's all resistance. Like people they shouldn't assume that resistance means, terrorists kill everyone. It doesn't. Resistance means that you are defying the occupier or you're defying the oppressor. And that can be done in many ways. Poetry, music. There was a girl in Gaza. She's a karate world champion. She was supposed to go to I think it's the Olympics or some sort of regional championship. Her legs got blown off. Now in Gaza. A month later, she died because there was no care. There's no hospitals. From the bleeding and from complications, she got an infection and she died. You understand? Like, it's no matter what people think about October the 7th or what happened in 1948 or anything, you have to dig deep into your hearts and say, look, this, what's going on now, it's enough.
Yeah, but I think
It has to
people,
stop.
I think everyone agrees with that. Probably a lot of people.
You'd be surprised. Like, for example, we've been doing peaceful protests now in Cardiff for 5 months, literally every weekend. Sometimes there's 5,000 people, sometimes there's 600 people, sometimes there's 2,000 people. But every week people are coming out. Yesterday, Sunday in Cardiff, there was a march. Not many people, say 60, 70 people. They all had Israeli flags in Cardiff Central. They went to by the library and I saw one of the speeches from it. And the speech was very, very worrying. You know, Rishi Sunak's been talking about hate marches. If anything describes a hate march, it would be this. There's a lady speaking and she's saying, we have to support Israel. And I know you all do. We have to support them in what they're doing. What they're doing is the right thing. That's a very worrying statement for me because it's clear what they're doing is killing innocent people. You know, if they came from a different approach and said, we're here to battle anti-Semitism and this and that, 100% we support that. You know, we've got many Jews who come on our protests in Cardiff.
Okay, then. So, three things then I want to ask you. So, first of all, from the river to the sea, they say that this is a anti-Semit song. Do you agree?
No, 100%.
Give me your reason.
Firstly, do you know where that term came from? Who started that?
No, enlighten me.
It wasn't the Palestinians. It was the Israelis. And the Israeli flag, if you see the blue and the Star of David in the middle, that's the reason they selected that as the flag, because one blue patch represents the Jordan River and the other represents the Mediterranean Sea. And Netanyahu a month ago in January, he came out and he said, from the river to the sea, it's only going to be for Jews. So you can't go throwing anti-Semitism for this. And then you're the one that's actually saying it in a racist way, where you're saying that this, like he said it in the way that from the river to the sea, no one except Jews can be here. Whereas the Palestinians, when they say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that means all of the illegal occupation, all of the land that's been stolen, all of the oppressed people between the river and the sea will be liberated. That's not a call for destruction or killing.
So does that mean, you know, if it's too late then, even if Israel said, no, listen, we're going to stop bombing, let's look at peace talks, let's look at living in harmony. Is it too late because of land that's been taken? Because I can't imagine, I've seen some videos of some of these settlers and some of them are really horrible people. Like I've seen a guy who was like some homeless guy in America and he just come out and just kicked someone out. He started living in their garden and stuff and move. And I'm just like, how can, that's like me failing in my life here and going back to my homeland and saying I'm entitled to this. Get out. You can't do that.
But look,
you know,
just on that point where you
people
said
stubborn like that are not going to accept that, are they?
No, but just on, I'll answer the question, but on the point you said going back to the homeland, how is it his homeland? Do you understand? That's their argument. We understand that. But that's like the Romans were here in the UK. So does that mean any Italian now, any Italian can come now to Cardiff, to Swansea and walk into my house and say, we were here 1,000 years ago, get out. Would you leave if someone said that to you?
No, of course.
So no one's denying that Jews lived in that region back then. But this guy from Brooklyn, whose DNA isn't the same DNA as the people that lived there. You got Sephardic Jews, who are the Jews that still live in Palestine, who they look Semitic, they look darker, they got the curlier hair, they've got darker features. But then you've got Netanyahu, who's Polish, and then you've got the other minister who's from Serbia, and then you've got another guy from Iraq or from Iran. Like these people, just because they adopted the religion of Judaism, automatically can go and kick out somebody that's been living there for thousands of years. Do you understand? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
What was the question though? I forgot.
No, it was just, we are talking about, they've, kicked out Palestinians out of their homes,
Peace, okay.
If there was peace talks now, do you think it could be solved and just, there can be an agreement with both sides, because I can't imagine, Israel would say, okay, we're going to stop now, and then the people who have moved people out of their home say, oh yeah, you can have your home back now. I just can't see them doing that. As wrong as it may be.
When you say peace, what does peace mean? Does peace mean just no fighting? Like a stop to the fighting, a stop to the hostilities, yeah?
No, peace to me is with everyone living in harmony. But there's always going to be people. Am I at peace? My life's chaotic, man. Like, what level of peace are we talking? I think just no war and no hate crimes, that's.
So can there be peace and slavery at the same time? There can, isn't it? There can be slaves, people that are enslaved, but everything's peaceful. There's no fighting.
No.
No. But like in terms of what the word peace means, peace just means that, like, tranquility. So you can have a slave plantation that they're so fearful of stepping out of line that anybody that looked from outside would look and say, "It's peaceful." But that's
Peace
not
and
real
harmony,
peace.
then.
For peace, there's a prerequisite. You cannot have peace without justice. Justice means accountability. People cannot do what they want and act how they want and do anything they want and get away with it. And then we talk about peace. There can't be. It's like what happened in Bosnia with the Serbian
So
government.
what would be peace in terms of
Justice, accountability for those who are responsible for all of this that has taken place. You need to be tried if you're still alive. Not the people that are gone. You need to go to jail.
Yeah. People like Netanyahu and people like that, yes.
And
But
for those who
what
had
about
their
the
land
civilians,
taken,
though?
reparations, just like in South Africa, just like in the slave plantations. You need to financially give these people an alternative. Nobody, even the Palestinians, up until now, many of them are saying, whatever, just peace. We stop.
And they're not even giving
stop
that,
the
like.
settlements. Stop taking our land. Stop throwing us out of our homes. Stop killing us. Give us voting rights. Give us equality. That's all we want. Most Palestinians don't care about anything other than we just want to be able to take our kids to school.
Yeah.
We want to be able to feed our children. We don't care about the politics or who's in charge. We just want stability. But sadly, Israel was built on the foundation of colonizing an indigenous people and getting rid of them. So as a current Israeli government, there can't be peace because this government is hell-bent on removing all Palestinians. They've said it openly multiple times. Many people, influencers, imagine, bro, there's a genocide going on, kids are being killed, and you've got Israeli soldiers dancing on tanks on TikTok and filming themselves shooting homes and blowing up whole residential areas. We can't talk about peace.
My
man.
videos get struck by talking about fucking, certain videos we put on, interviews, they get cancelled, community, hate crime, the woke community.
Yeah.
And then they're over there
Disallowed.
dancing like it's fucking crazy.
You get
Man.
what I mean? It's like, it's
World's fucked up.
and there's a group in Israel called Break the Silence. So these are ex-IDF soldiers, people that have served in the IDF, refused to carry on serving in the
I've
IDF.
seen videos of them in like a courtroom, and the one guy's
He's going nuts.
Yeah.
But these guys have come out and they've said that the reason Israeli society is allowing this is because in our schools, our children, like in the UK, for example, or the West, when you're learning counting, it's like 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples. In Israel, they're teaching their kids 1 bullet, 2 bullet, young kids. These are Israelis that are coming out. They're saying that we are programmed from early age in school here to hate Arabs and to not see Arabs as human beings. Arabs, they don't even call them Palestinians because they don't want them to, they don't want to accept that there is a people called the Palestinians. So they call them the Arabs, which is why they try and say, why doesn't Egypt take them? Why doesn't take them? And Normal Finkelstein answered that question very beautifully. There was
Is that the guy you debated Shmuley not long ago?
yeah,
Talks very slow, like
very slow. He's an amazing. He's very, very educated. He was talking with an Israeli guy in America, a Zionist guy, and the guy said, "Oh, the Palestinians must be so bad if none of their Arab neighbors want to take them." So he waited, let him finish, and then he said, "Does that mean that the Jews were so bad? The European Jews? That not one single country, America, nobody wanted to take the Jews before Hitler exterminated them." The guy's face dropped. He didn't know what to say. you know, because they're trying to push this. That's exactly what Hitler said. Hitler said these Jews, the Jewish problem, or, you know, I'm doing everyone a favor. And now that's the same rhetoric being used against the Palestinians, that no one wants to take them, the Arabs, they should go to Egypt. Why should they go to Egypt? They're not Egyptian. Like there's 17 countries that speak Arabic, but they're all different countries.
Yeah, of course.
They're not like, so Arabs is generally, Arabs doesn't
If
depict
people
a
said
race.
we're going to move the English to Wales now, I'd say fuck off.
That's what I'm saying. Do you
Really
know?
though?
Yeah. So it's,
Very stereotypical from small-minded
it is.
individuals.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just want people, whoever's watching this, you know, some people might watch and be like, oh, the fuck's this guy? Like, oh, why did you go back to Gaza? Stop protesting on the streets and stuff. We can't stop protesting until our government stop funding this and supporting this. Do you get me? Like,
I think a fear of a lot of people is that this is a religious thing, like, you know, and that's what people are scared of. Like, there's a war coming to everyone, and you know, these people are saying they're fighting for the freedom of these people, the Palestinians, but really there's bigger pictures going on. That's what people, I think, are scared of.
yeah, bro, come to one of our protests on a Saturday. Majority of the people who are there at the protest are white, are Welsh. They don't look like me. They haven't got the beard. They haven't, you know, they're not Muslim. They're white people from here. Look at all the protests in London and everywhere as well.
Okay.
Majority are local people, because this isn't about religion or color. It's about humanity.
Yes,
It's about
yes.
stopping killing children. Innocent people are dying. That's all
I'm
that
speaking
matters.
from a perspective of just some of the content I've covered, like, you know, in the past, like because it all ties in, doesn't it? Like, you know, migration and all these other things. People scaremonger, didn't they? Like propaganda and stuff, you know. Quickly, because I don't think we said it, but I'm going to ask the question as if you was on Piers Morgan's show while he was doing this at the beginning. Do you condemn Hamas?
I condemn the loss of all innocent life. If Hamas is responsible for killing innocent people, I condemn them. If Israel is responsible for killing innocent people, I condemn them. If our government, or America, or just Iran, of course, nobody condemns the killing of innocent people at all. Yeah? But you can't say, the question doesn't really think, because if you're asking, do I
Do you
condemn...
condemn what happened on October the 7th?
I condemn the loss of innocent life on October the 7th, 100%. 100%. Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I do understand. I do understand.
Yeah, because it's complicated, bro. The reason I'm not answering it in it because it's not.
Because you think some of those people they might have killed were guilty?
No, it's because we still don't have all of the facts or information
happened on that day,
happened,
yeah.
other than what Israel said. And Israel said 40 beheaded babies. That's debunked as a lie. Hundreds of women raped and their breasts cut off. That's been debunked as a lie. Babies thrown in the oven has been debunked as a lie. I'm not saying bad things didn't happen on that day, but there has to be an independent investigation. I watched a video, I think on October the 11th. There was an Israeli guy, military. He was in the woods where the Nova Festival was happening, and he was being interviewed. And he was asked, what happened? Was this all Hamas? And this Israeli military guy who was there witnessed it. He said, no, Hamas only targeted military checkpoints, but many other people came in after. So for me to just blindly...
Many other people.
As in, like, there's many other factions. There's not just Hamas in Gaza. And there's also just normal civilians,
okay.
people. You know, when the border was breached, there was a lot of people that came in. But what actually happened, I wouldn't be quick, because Nelson Mandela was called a terrorist.
Yeah.
Our politicians used to wear T-shirts saying Nelson Mandela is a terrorist. It was a prescribed terrorist organization until he came and he sat with the Queen shaking hands after 27 years of imprisonment. You know?
Statues in London.
That's what I mean. It's like, it's very easy to say, are they a terrorist? Are they not? Britain and America killed over 1 million innocent people in Iraq. Nobody calls that terrorism. They say, oh, bad information. They killed hundreds of thousands of people in Afghanistan. Where was the weapons of mass destruction? Oh, it was a mistake. Taliban. Okay, where's the Taliban? What's the Taliban got to do with 9/11? You're saying it was like this guy, and then, do you understand? Like, terrorism, they say, is in the eye of the beholder. Me, I condemn any attacks on innocent people. Anyone that is innocent and free from any conflict, 100%.
I just
That's
think-
disgusting.
And I think, you know, all those you just said are again predecessors to what's happened now with this as being used. We're the public are the puppet strings.
It is.
For them. Because
100%.
none of us want this shit, man.
Exactly.
Who the fuck wants this shit?
Yeah. Like just to make this very clear, I'm not saying I support Hamas, okay? Because I don't support them. But when we're talking and having these discussions, you have to look at generally the bigger picture. I saw an interview. This was probably in 2018. I think it was either Channel 4. It was a Western media, and they were interviewing a Hamas guy. So he's obviously his face is covered, and he's there. It was during Ramadan, so he's breaking his fast with just some olive oil and some bread. And they're asking him, why you with Hamas? He said, my parents were blown up in front of me when I was 14 years old. I lost everything. I lost my family. I lost everything that I had dear to me. You think I want to be here fighting? I like playing football. I like sport, but we're an occupied people. What can I do? And again, that's just so people understand. I'm not saying, oh, God, amazing Hamas. No, I'm not. I'm saying that there's cause and effect, and there's consequences for actions, you know? Like ISIS, for example. ISIS, what was that a consequence of? It was a consequence of how many years of Iraqis being tortured, being sent to Guantanamo Bay, being raped and ridiculed in Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq and filmed, having dogs set on them, stripped naked. Do you get me? Like, you can't do things and expect that people will just... And again, I'm not saying that ISIS is good or anything. ISIS were the worst. I came under ISIS bombing. I know firsthand what ISIS did and what ISIS do. But I can understand that certain things will lead to certain things, which is why if you want to take out this problem, you have to always go back to the root cause. Because unless you deal with the root cause, you might take Hamas out, or you might take what do they call the other one, Islamic Jihad out. But as long as this occupation and the oppression is still going, there's just going to be a different name that group.
It's basic fundamental.
It is. Like now even worse. Look, like 10 kids per day are being amputated in Gaza. 10 kids every single day since October the 7th till now, on average. 13,000 children have been killed. In January, the average age, when it was about 22,000 people dead, the average age of people that had been killed was 5 years old. This is a war on children. Some of the doctors, the medics that are from Gaza that have come back to the UK who've been operating, they said this is a war on children. We had 7 children coming in with sniper shots on their faces, through their eyes. People don't know about this. Why? Because people don't do their research. And that's what it's all about. All of this information is available.
Let's be... You in a rush, bro.
No.
And let's be fair, bro. Let's be fair, though. Like, I've got people who share stuff. A lot of people don't want to see this stuff. People want to bury their head in the sands. And I understand that. Like, I don't want to, after my, you know, we've all got lives. Yeah. And, you know, I'm speaking now from a perspective I can imagine as, you know, friends, family, and the wider public. You know, people don't want to see this shit. Like, it's a horrible thing.
It is. But it's the reality. And I think something I always say when I'm speaking, especially in the protests, is what Martin Luther King said. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And this is so true because let's take Ukraine, for example. Up until a few years ago, up until kind of the skirmishes with Crimea and all of this, the Ukrainians never in a million years would have thought we're going to be invaded, we're going to war. Yeah. The Syrians before 2011 never would have thought that. The Libyans before never would have thought that. Egypt, Tunisia never would have thought that. But it happened to them. Why are we so confident that we're safe? Whether it's from our government, from the cuts from the Tories, from austerity. How many people in the UK now who are employed, working, nurses, teachers, are going to food banks? I remember one of the food banks in Swansea, it ran out of food. I did a campaign, I raised money, I went and I was speaking to them. They said, it was Bonnie Mine, the one in Bonnie Mine. And the lady was saying that a lot of the people are coming, they're bringing their kids from school, picking their kids up, and they're coming here to get food for their kids. So what makes us think that these problems or these situations won't affect us? And what are the government doing? They're blaming the migrants. They're blaming this, they're blaming that. People are quick to forget that Brexit was promised on the basis that, look, migration's going to stop. Migration has increased since Brexit, and they're bringing them in. The number of people that are coming,
What is your take on migration?
it needs to be 100%. There needs to be a limit. There needs to be a procedure. There needs to be a process on who's coming in. Not everybody that comes in, realistically, I've worked in this field. I've worked with asylum seekers. Not every single person that comes in is an asylum seeker. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that people that are coming in should be labeled as, threats or dangerous. There's good people and bad people everywhere and anywhere.
But do you think it's a concern when it is just a male population, as they say? I know. Well, you've worked there.
Yeah.
So
I work
what
with,
have you
I
witnessed?
work with a lot of asylum seekers and a lot of refugees
And
coming into the country.
would you say it's majority male?
No, it's not majority male. Now, look, now with all the boat crossings and stuff, it might be a bit different. When I was very heavily involved in it in the UK, it was between 2015 2019. A lot of them were resettled, so they were coming in by airplane. They were brought in by the UN. There were families, children. Now, I'm not too sure about the numbers, but even in Swansea, where I live, a lot of the families, a lot of people that are newly coming in, like I still support families with kind of furniture, clothing and stuff like that. And a lot of requests I get are for families. The ones that are put into these hotels, maybe, yes, they are all male. But again, if you look at what's happening in Sudan, if you look at what's happening in the Congo, I think 7 million people are displaced. Close to 1 million people have been killed in Congo. Sudan, the same. Do you understand? So when people are saying it's all male, yes, I can understand why that can be scary. But you have to look at the reality of a lot of the countries that these people are coming from. Like Sudan and Congo, if you are a middle-aged male, you are the one that's going to get killed. You're going to get your head cut off. You're going to get thrown into a fire. So it's understandable why, from certain countries, there will be majority males leaving.
Is that dangerous to bring people who've been brought up in that environment to a culture like ours?
I don't think it's dangerous. No, I think what's dangerous is isolating them and making people feel like they are not wanted and they are outsiders and feeling threatened, because somebody from a survival instinct background only knows how to survive. So if they feel that they're threatened, they're going to do what they know. I think that there needs to be a dialogue. There needs to be a procedure put in place. How are we, the ones that legitimately are coming and need asylum or protection, how are we going to bring them in? What can we do? A lot of them, bro, they're coming in, they're like on £4 a day. They only get £4 a day.
But that in itself, if they're looking around them and everyone's got a legit job, luxury, social media, you see people in nice clothes, if they're on £4 a day, of course they're gonna want to make money other ways. Of course they're gonna
Majority don't though. Majority, like people think that people from the third world are just come in to fight. Bro, a lot of these people are educated. A lot of these people are educated, they're qualified, they've got skills. A lot of these people, from when they come, even though they shouldn't, they'll work anything. They clean toilets, they clean dishes. These people 99% of people that come do not come here because they want to sit on benefits. There's more people from the UK, not just white people, but brown people, even like black people. There's more people from the UK who've been here for generations that are claiming benefits when they could be working than the immigrant population that are coming in. They're saying about immigrants, Rishi Sunak's doing deals with India to bring more people in to come and work. Something doesn't add up. Do you understand?
What do you mean it doesn't add up?
Something doesn't add up about this whole let's blame migrants for all the problems, but at the same time, let's go and get more migrants in to come and do the jobs that we don't have people to do, whether it's in nursing, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in chefs. Like, it's the government bringing them in. It's the government bringing them in. But then they'll highlight the 5 or 6 boats that come in from Kent and Dover and say, oh, look, it's an invasion. The invasion is not coming from the boats. The invasion is not coming from the boats. There's no invasion. It's just when the media is fixated on something, it makes it look like it is. Yes, there should be an immigration policy. There has to be an immigration policy. There has to be policies for everything and anything. You can't have everything in life just, nilly-willy, everyone just doing what they want. No, there has to be a plan, there has to be a structure, and there has to be also a financial plan. Okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Look at Germany, for example. They took in, after the Syrian revolution, they took in 1 million Syrian refugees. Yeah, they were one of the first countries. They took in around 1 million Syrian refugees in a short space of time. Within 3-4 years, Every single one of those refugees speaks German. Yeah, they went through a program. They put them in. They gave them. They taught them skills, and they're all employed. Why? Because Germany had a aging population. They didn't have a young workforce. Most of the people that were old, not having many kids. So they were worried that when the older generation died, a big chunk of German population will go. What have they done? They've brought in people, they've settled people, they've taught them skills, they've educated them, they've taught them the language, and now those people are helping to build that economy. You know, every country was built on migration. The UK was built on migration. Every country is built on migration. But again,
those migrations were controlled, weren't they? And, you know, whether you was a Yemen, a Somali, a Bengali, it doesn't matter where you was from, Greek, like my family, you know, they came over as they were on the Navy, seamen, yeah, they were workers, do you know what I mean? And the worry that I see, as I speak to, is the uncontrolled mass, putting them in a population, you know. If you're going to put some people in a concentrated population of a hotel, then they're going to feel like they're cornered and isolated.
100%. That's what I'm saying. There's no structure. There's no. The government is almost like they're doing it on purpose to create the friction.
Yeah.
To be able to blame people or to turn people against each other.
Yeah, the Rishi Sunak speech the other day was so
divisive.
That was the first speech he's done since his
outside 10 Downing Street. Yeah. And you know, it's very easy for people to look at what the news articles put out or look at certain journalists. You know, there's some people that call themselves journalists that they're not really journalists, but some information that's put out, people don't think, they just take it at face value and they're like, right, it's their fault. They're the reason I'm suffering. Not because the government's increasing tax and giving billions of tax cuts to Amazon, to eBay, to British Gas, to OVO, who are upping the prices that they're charging us, but their tax that they're paying is going down. No, let's not blame them. You know, we know that our government are liars. We know that the government doesn't tell us the truth. Even look at what's happened during COVID and look at all of the information that was put out by the government during COVID, and they're having parties and stuff. So people know that this government are lying, but every single time the government come and tell us another lie, we're quick to lap it up and believe it and blame each other, because divide and conquer. So long as we're fighting each other and arguing.
If we're so clued up on divide and conquer, why is it still happening?
Because we're not. We think we are. We think, yeah, you know, it's like I had a conversation with someone yesterday about the upcoming election. People were like, yeah, you know, we have to vote. Conservative and Labour are both as bad as each other.
Well, Labour is conservative,
it's the same.
isn't it?
But someone said, yeah, but the thing is, everybody says that, but then when it comes to elections, everyone's like, oh, we need to do a tactical vote. So let's just vote Labour to not get Conservative, or let's vote Conservative to not get Labour. People know, in theory,
they are both.
But putting the practice, people don't want to make the change.
Yeah.
People just want what's easy. You know, they want to go the easy route. And I think people need to change from within. People need to look in and say, right, I'm going to change myself. Before I expect everybody else around me to change, I'm going to change this one bad thing in me, or this one negative thing in me, or I'm going to open my mind to something, you know, today. And you never know, bro. It has a knock-on effect. No change has ever come from someone sitting back and saying, I can't do anything. It's slowly. You have to wake people up. You have to, and as you said earlier, we have to find the common ground. When we start looking at each other's faults and saying, oh, well, you think this and I think that, therefore I can't be friends with you. It's like, well, no. I think this, you think this. Tell me why you think it. Let me tell you why I think it. Okay. I understand now why you think that. Do you understand why I think that? And then we conversate and we communicate and we talk and then we bring other people in together. That's the only way. We have to be united. And anything that divides us, anyone that tries to divide us, you know that they've got something sinister planned. That's not for our benefit.
Yeah. Deep. Sad. It's an actual question I got, and you asked me the question. But what is peace to you?
Peace is where everybody realizes or understands that it's okay to be different. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not like the same thing that other people like, and to just focus on yourself. Because peace, sometimes when we talk about peace, we're talking about from the aspect of war, fighting, violence, but peace is from within. And sometimes we have to make peace with ourselves. You know, if you're not at peace with yourself, then how can you be peaceful with other people? You know, whether it's you're setting expectations too high, drop your expectations. You don't have to please anyone. You're not in a race. The only person you have to be better than is you yesterday. Don't look at what other people are doing. You know, it's not about comparing. And sadly, with social media and with all these images and with all these pictures and with all these advertisements, everyone wants to be cool. Everyone wants to have the Gucci. Everyone wants the bad boy cars. Everyone wants bling. Okay, what have you achieved when you get that? Nothing. You just want more. You compared yourself to a guy who had a Gucci. Now, next time you want a Bugatti, and you just keep trying to go up the ladder, and it consumes you because it's a materialistic world, and you know, it's more about what's inside. You have to be content with what you're doing, with what you believe in, and work towards it. I always say to people are like, what's the point in the protests? What are you going to achieve? I say, for me, what I do, even with my work, my aim in my work, charity work, is to eradicate poverty. Whether I do it or not doesn't matter. But that's what I'm working towards. If I achieve it, amazing. If I don't, I haven't failed because I've worked towards it. And maybe I've inspired other people. When I go, when I die, when my time's, gone, other people will continue it. As long as you leave a legacy, you leave a footprint that inspires people to do good, that's the thing. But for me, as I said, peace is from within. As long as you're content with yourself, you're content with, you know that you've done your best, you know that you've tried your best. That's it. That's all that matters.
Are you still protesting then? It's still happening?
Mm-hmm.
How often?
Every week.
Every week you're still doing
in Cardiff every week, and then we got one in Swansea every week.
Are you aiming at certain places, certain establishments still? Because I know you've done like Starbucks and stuff, didn't you?
Really? Oh, I think they went to Starbucks.
I've seen one at Starbucks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of it's direct action. So some of the places that the protests are aimed at are places that have been supporting Israel and what they're doing. Places that have been mocking the dead. Places that have been... And Starbucks, for example, when we were in Starbucks, the staff inside, when we went in, they started chanting free, free Palestine. Do you understand? Like, they know what's going on. And Starbucks, as a business, as a company...
There's shareholders in there, is it something like that?
No, it's the Starbucks CEO and the Starbucks, the major shareholders. One guy called Howard Schultz, I believe. He was one of the old... he was the old CEO, but because of his links to Israel, he had to step away. But he's still got quite a lot of shares in there. But the company itself, when its trade union posted out, stop the killing in Palestine, they took legal action against the union. You understand? So they took legal action. But also there's been court cases against Starbucks for using 8-year-old children in the coffee plantations in Brazil, paying corrupt politicians and leaders in dictatorships to be able to open new stores and shops. So these companies that are supporting the genocide, they're not just supporting what's happening in Israel, but they're actually not paying their employees. They're not ethical in any way. They
don't pay tax.
They don't pay tax. Yeah, they open foreign accounts. That's what I'm saying. So our justification for it is, it's a quick 10, 20-minute thing. We're in, we educate, we give a few leaflets and we go. It's to educate people. It's to let people know, whether it's the staff or people that are going in there. Look, this company is supporting a massacre that's taking place. Whether you want to carry on going there or not, that's fine. The amount of people that have come to us and messaged me afterwards and saying, what's the alternative? Where can I go? I always used to go Starbucks. People don't know. Barclays Bank, for example.
Yeah, I know a lot of Muslims used to. And I knew a girl who worked in one.
Yeah.
She left because of it, and...
Like Barclays Bank. I've been with Barclays Bank since this was my first account I opened, the kid account, when I was like 12. I changed it in October. Barclays Bank have 1.3 billion pounds of people's money invested in Elbit Systems. Elbit Systems is a weapons manufacturer. It's an Israeli company where they have 11 weapons factories here in the United Kingdom that they're providing, they're making weapons, sending them to Israel, using them on Gaza, and then they sell these weapons to other countries and dictators, saying these weapons are battle tested. Barclays Bank's got 1.3 billion invested in it. Newport Council and Swansea Council, the pension funds that they've got between them, I think is 190 million of people's pension fund money. They've also got them invested in Elbit Systems. Gwent Council, Swansea Council.
You don't know these things.
You don't know these things. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, I didn't know half of this stuff. I always knew, like, Coca-Cola, Marks and Spencer's, they were very openly supportive of Israel, always, through the years. But now, bro, there's think tanks, there's researchers doing stuff. It's a lot more sinister. There's a lot more companies and financial companies that are funding, they're giving money to Israel. Like McDonald's, one of the reasons we go to McDonald's is the McDonald's still till now, 4,000 free meals every single day to IDF soldiers that are returning from
Garbage
from
food
killing.
anyway. Yeah.
It's shit food anyway, but
Garbage.
why would you give, like,
A Happy Meal.
just don't be political. Just stay out of it. Stay out of it. No one's going to talk to you. But if you're coming out and making statements and you're putting it on your website and you're putting a whole highlights section of we're supporting the IDF, then you expect that people are not going to...
what are you expecting?
Yeah, of course we're
Yeah,
going to
you're
highlight
right.
it. We're going to highlight it.
Do you hate Jews?
No. Why would I hate Jews?
Oh, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, but what? But like,
Because people would think that, people who are protesting against this type of stuff, people would think automatically that you hate Jewish people.
we got Jews with us on our protests. Some of the biggest protests in London, the shutdown of Victoria Station and all of this stuff, Jews. Some of the biggest protests outside the White House in Washington with, I don't know if you've seen it, with quite a few old ladies, the Jewish Voice for Peace. This has nothing to do with Jews. Zionism and Judaism are two different things.
Yeah.
One's a political movement, the other's a religion. The Jewish religion doesn't allow for a state called Israel to exist until the Messiah comes. That's the religion. That's what Judaism says. This is why the Torah Jews and the rabbis that you see in New York and all these places, they wear Palestinian flags. They say that Israel stole our Star of David and they made a flag out of it. Judaism has nothing to do with it. We stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters and we stand against anti-Semitism, 1,000,000%. But they're two separate things. Israel is not a Jewish state. It's a Zionist political colony. The Jews that are living in Israel are being attacked, are tortured, imprisoned by the Israeli government for standing up. I'll send you videos. They're protesting, saying, stop bombing Gaza. They're holding up the Palestinian flag. And the IDF are beating them, ripping their hats off, ripping their head. They're proper beating them. So if it was about Muslims versus Jews, then why is the Israeli government attacking those who are actually practicing? They're not their own people. Those people class themselves as Palestinian because they're Palestinian Jews. You understand? Like they're Jews,
like
but they
Polish
live in
Jews.
Palestine. Yeah. You get me? It's like me, I'm a Muslim, but I'm a
Jew.
British Muslim. Do
Swedish
you get me?
Muslim.
I
Yeah,
live
yeah.
in Britain. I'm British. I'm raised here. I'm born here. I live my life. So I'm British. But my faith is Muslim. Whereas there'd be a British Christian, there'd be a British atheist, there'd be a British Hindu.
No, I agree.
But we're British. Do you get me? And these Jews that are being attacked now by Israel, they're the ones that have the claim to that land, and they're the ones that have lived there alongside the Palestinians with no problems for years. So no, I definitely don't hate Jews. I don't hate anyone.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any hate in my heart for anyone. Even people that I strongly dislike, it takes too much energy to hate someone. And then it makes me like them. Do you get me? Like I don't have time to hate people. I've only got time to try and bring positivity. Just don't get in my way. Do you get me? Like this is what one thing I always say to people. It's like we had an incident the other day in Swansea where some guy came and he started shouting at the protests, swearing, screaming, and then he threatened me. And I just squared up to him and I was like,
Was that on that?
yeah, on
The
Instagram.
video? I've seen a video.
You've seen the video of that, yeah. I was like, do it. You get me? Like one thing that needs to be made clear is we are peaceful. I'll speak for myself. I'm peaceful. I'm not hateful, but I'm not a pacifist. Do you get me? If someone wants to come and get violent with me, then try their luck. But why would you try and get violent? Do you get me? Like, let's have a conversation. It makes more sense. If we have a fight, everyone's going to go off disliking the other person. What's that benefited anyone? If we have a conversation, we might not agree with each other, but you might understand where I'm coming from. I'll understand where you're coming from. Okay, we agree to disagree. You go on your way, I go on mine. It's that's the only way that the world's going to change. It's through talking, through peace, through peaceful dialogue. Violence only brings more violence, as we've seen, as we keep seeing. And that's the cycle that we hopefully can change.
I'd love to get someone, someone who's, for, defense of Israel or whatever it is, to come and sit and talk to you, just to see the dialogue you two would have.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be really interesting, you know, just to see what kind of common ground you find. You know what I mean? I'm fucking sick of this divide, man. It's really
100%.
sad.
100%. I did an interview with an American guy, and I think towards the end of October, beginning of November. So there was a talk host guy. It was like an American TV program. So there was a guy hosting it, and then I was on one side, and that guy was on the other side. And it was a very respectful and peaceful conversation, but we agreed to disagree. You know,
And that's how it stayed, is it?
that's how it stayed because.
It's finding that link in it, bro. That's what it is.
But it depends on the
That
person
olive-
as well.
yeah, of course it
You know,
does.
if I'm presenting fact and I'm giving you factual information, so like, you know, some people they just dismiss what you say.
Yeah.
Like if I was speaking with you and you came to me and said to me, right, this happened, I'm not going to dismiss facts, because everything that I like to talk about has to be based on facts. So if you can present me facts that I don't know about, then I will take them, I will look at them, consider them, and I'm not going to say no, you're wrong, because you've got facts. But I challenge anybody to bring me any facts that will justify what Israel is doing now to Palestine. They don't exist. They don't exist.
Neezo, we gotta go because we're gonna run out of time. I want to say thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this. I hope
Really
you've got
did.
some stuff out, and hopefully people will, you know, take this in and, you know, listen to what you got to say. One thing we do with all our guests, we ask them to leave us with a message down that camera. Tell them why you're here, bro.
So I'm here for peace. Actually, I'll do something that's a bit better. We don't want no war. We don't want no violence. We are not afraid, and we will not be silenced. And that sums it up. We're not here for war. We don't want violence. We want peace. We want people to all come together. We want people to understand each other and unite. Put your differences aside, your religion, your color, your race, all of that doesn't matter. We're all human beings. We all bleed red. We all eat. We all go to the toilet. And that's the common ground. So we all need to sit down and talk and get on the same page, because that's the only thing that's going to make a difference in this world.
Thank you very much, brother. Good luck with your going to Jordan, you say?
Lebanon.
Lebanon.
On
Good
Friday.
luck in Lebanon.
Nice one.
Hopefully see you again.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave your comments. Let us know what you think. If you want to follow Neezo's journey and the great work he does, social media.
Yeah, Neezo 87.
Take care, guys. Stay central.
The Central Club.